Welcome back, folks. This one is off topic. This one is not part of the uh, class time, although it does shoehorn nicely in with politics, government, and such, which is definitely something that I go over on that series. But I'm still hearing right and left, right and left. They have, they haven't, they have, they haven't. This person won, no, they didn't. This person won, no, they didn't. I want to reinforce we're not going to hear anything until it's over. Okay? It's just not going to happen. Much, if not most, if not all of what we're hearing is likely misdirection. Sidney Powell, Lynn Wood, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Huckabee, Levin, Tucker, Sean, all of them are very good at this. They've been doing it a long time. Powell and Wood know that they cannot discuss particulars and specifics of ongoing cases. They can give you just enough to wet your whistle. I have filed this suit in this case, in this state. They can't say more, because that could damage their case. We hear things from sources like Louis Gohmert that the Army has seized certain things in certain places. Remember that this is very much a fight between two diametrically opposed ideologies. The ideology of limited government and freedom, and the ideology of large government controlling your every move. In the last 48 hours, I've seen that New York and Pennsylvania have both decreed that New York decreed you can't have more than 10 people in your home for Thanksgiving. There's videos going around of people taking photos of private homes. Pennsylvania decreed you have to wear a mask inside your home. I'm inside my home right now. Unless someone walked the, 50 or so yards from the street, trespassing on my property without a warrant, that makes it trespassing, to look through a window at a certain angle, they're not going to see me. So how are they going to enforce that? And the sheriffs in Pennsylvania have said they're not going to. They're not going to encroach and infringe on the liberties of their constituency. Sheriffs in New Mexico reaffirmed their oath to the Constitution and the law, not to the governor. I'm not going to tell you that I am 100% one way or the other, because I'm not. This is a situation where we have no precedent. Okay? In 2000, neither side really wanted to truly expose the fraud prevalent in United States elections. Today, many of those same arguments are coming from the people who just want it to be over so that their candidate can be declared winner. We're seeing people from Michigan screaming that the GOP wants to not count minority votes. That's entirely untrue. The GOP is, for some of them, they're working to ensure that the legal ballots are counted. If your ballot was not signed, if it was not postmarked properly, if it arrived late, it's illegal. If it's not on the right ballot, we have watermarks, it's not legal. If the ballot was cast for someone who's dead, it's not legal. If they're not a citizen, it's not legal. Things like that. And of course the left starts screaming, no person is illegal. Well, the person is not what their actions can be. We go back several years to where an official with Immigration and Customs Enforcement had to actually remind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that breaking U.S. border law is a crime and thus is illegal. She actually said that crossing the border illegally is not a crime. Anyone who can say doing something illegally is not a crime should have no place in our government, but we have them in positions of very high power. What I want to talk about today, though, is what happens if the election is not certified in time. And that is definitely a stratagem that the Trump campaign is looking at. It's very simple. It goes to the United States House of Representatives. And on just a cursory glance, people are going to worry because there are more Democrats than Republicans in the House. But there's not when you look at the election that just ran. It has been certified. 37 states have a majority Republican representation in the House. If the presidential election goes to the House, each state has one vote controlled by the majority party. It's not a majority of the 435 seats. It's a majority of the 50 states. And the majority party in the House for each state controls one vote each. If it's deadlocked there, it would go to the Supreme Court. I don't know that we're going to get there because we still have 6 weeks until that would happen, if not a little bit more. The cases in states like Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada, those were all but doomed to failure from the out. Because we knew we were fighting against people who were already in that position who didn't want things to change. But where does it go after that? It goes up. Appellate courts, district courts, ultimately the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court does not look at this and say the law was not followed, therefore we must do this to follow the law, then they have abandoned their duty. Right now we have Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett, and Thomas. I don't know that we can count on Roberts, but probably at least one more that do lean conservative. And they would say, what does the law say? They're not going to say we lean conservative, so we're going to rule for the GOP. They're not going to say that. Conservative means they're going to say, what does the law state? The law states this. Therefore, that is the law. Therefore, obey that law. You don't like that law, you go to Congress to change that law. They know very well that a judge is not to legislate. A judge is to interpret the law and find out if actions or whatnot abide by the law. It's just what it is. And that's what it needs to be. I'm not going to tell you I am 100% certain of any outcome. I'm not going to tell you I'm 100% relaxed because this is a tenuous time in our country. I'm going to tell you that there's one thing, and this is something my parents have taught me my entire life. This is the answer right here. The Holy Bible. The answer's in this book. And what people don't always like is that the answer is not always what they want it to be. And you're going to find that throughout life. I learned it as a 16-year-old. I wanted a sports car. I wanted a Lamborghini Gallardo, or Diablo, or Countach, or Corvette. We couldn't afford that. At first, I had my sister's Datsun 280ZX, stick. Hated the thing at first because I jumped around like a rabbit until my dad finally put me on a pretty good incline to help me learn to feather the clutch, and then I loved the car. From there, my sister sold that and got a different car, so I was in the Chrysler LeBaron she was driving for a while. Then I got an 82 Datsun, 82 Dodge Charger. I would like to look at whoever decided to make the Dodge Charger a hatchback and slap them and say, don't do that, but that was 40 years ago. And it worked. It was a good car. Looking back now, I had nothing to complain about. Okay? Even my friends in high school whose parents were doctors and lawyers and captains of industry, they weren't driving those cars. The one person who actually got close was a good friend of mine in ROTC. Her parents were very well off. She had a car. It wasn't as old as mine, but it wasn't brand new. But for prom, they rented her a Humvee. That was the only concession they made. That was it. I had a car. A lot of my friends in high school my age didn't have a car. They were still on the bus. I had a car. But I was 16. I didn't understand. I'm 43 now. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I acted as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. Or at least I tried to. And you have to learn every day that life is not fair. I firmly believe that even if the election goes the way I hope it does not, and we are saddled with a socialist who will be pushed out of office as fast as Kamala Harris can push him out of office to seize the reins of power for herself, I have to trust that the country will not just buckle and bow, because her policies would cripple and destroy the country, opening us up to invasion from any and all directions. But the military won't stand by and watch the country burn. Yeah, there's a lot of politics when you get really, really high in the ranks, but the rank and file soldier, sailor, airman, marine, coast guardsman, merchant marine, they're not going to take it. If they get told, I'm in charge, you will obey me, they're going to say, oh, you mean my oath to the Constitution is over? That means I'm not a soldier anymore. They're going to walk away. And there's nothing that the government can do if they say, your oath is over, swear this oath or leave, and they choose to leave. Nothing they can do. It may get tenuous, and it may get tough for a time. Remember, from 2009 to 2017, our taxes went up and up and up and up, and our benefits went down and down and down and down. Prior to Barack Obama, I had health care. I could go see a doctor if I needed to, and I did. It wasn't cheap, it wasn't free, and it never should be. But it wasn't anything like the ACA. In 2012, Nancy Pelosi's "we have to pass it to find out what's in it" move led to the ACA passing, where I was forced to pay for a plan with an extremely high deductible. No copay to go see a doctor. Prescription prices went up until Walmart pioneered the $4 list. I couldn't just go see a doctor. I muddled through most of what happened. I think twice I went to an emergency room. And I'm having to pay for that. I had to go to the emergency room last Thursday and again Sunday afternoon of this last week. When I went back on Sunday, they put me in a hospital for a night. I will tell you, hospital beds are horrible, especially when you have an IV you can't remove. But the specialist came in, looked at my foot, looked at what's going on, took a sample, they're testing it, they're making sure that I'm on the right path. They've got me on the medication I need to be on. I can tell you I am feeling 100% better. 2 days ago, I could not wear a normal shoe due to having to bandage my foot so much because of what was going on. Today, I can actually wear a shoe. Are you kidding me? That's 3 days. And it shows what amazing advances we've made, but they're never going to be free. When you think about it, yes, I understand. You see doctors living in lavish houses, driving whatever car they want, and sending their kids to private school, and so on and so forth. I don't necessarily think that just being a doctor or just being a lawyer it makes you entitled to live a life of luxury. But I do know what law school and medical school cost, and it's a lot of money. I've known a lot of doctors in my life. Okay, when I was a child, I had 2 amazing doctors. I had an optometrist that worked on this eye because it did this naturally. I don't know if you can see that, but it's turning in. Lazy eye. And at 5 years old, they operated and fixed it. I had bad teeth as a child, and I had a dentist that took great care of me. When I got sick, my parents would keep me home from school, and I would go see the doctor. If it was just a cold, I would spend the day with my grandparents, and my grandmother would feed me chicken soup, and I'd watch Nickelodeon. We didn't have the ACA back then. We just had doctors that cared for their patients. Now, sadly, we have an entire generation of people who firmly believe that it is their right to live any form of lifestyle they wish and never have to actually provide it. Look up the cautionary tale of the grasshopper in winter. You know, it was a Warner Brothers, I believe. It was a cartoon. The world owes me a living. And then through the harsh winter, where the ant, I believe, or it may have been another insect, brings the grasshopper into his home. When he sees the grasshopper, freezing in the snow, keeps him warm, keeps him fed through the winter, and the grasshopper learns the lesson: the world owes you nothing. As a biological entity, the world owes you nothing. The world provides you air to breathe free. The world actually provides you food and water and shelter for free. If you know how to cut and harvest wood and other materials, weave your own rope, your own tarp, basically, to build a covering or to build a house, how to fish, how to collect and purify water, how to find non-poisonous vegetables and other plants. You could trap and use furs as your clothing. Our ancestors did this for 4 centuries. And they did just fine. Sadly, we've gotten to a point where we've had people who've had it so good for most of their life that when they reach the point where it's on them to continue providing for themselves, they don't know how to do so in that manner, in the way they've become accustomed, without having to do what they don't want, which is work for it. I will be the first to tell you, I would love, at 43 years old, to be able to just retire, sleep as late as I want, get up, play video games if I want, make videos if I want, read if I want, go drive around town and all that if I want. But that's not in the cards right now. If I was able to, if I came into enough money to do that, I would go insane within a year. And I would probably have opened a business. I mean, I've already decided to myself that, when I find $1 in my car, or when I have money that I have no plans for, that I really didn't even know was there, I'll buy a lottery ticket or two. If I ever win, I'll probably open up a Double Dave's Pizza or a Chick-fil-A somewhere. Run it for a couple of years, hire good managers, then I'm in once or twice a month, and it makes money. And as soon as I'm to the once or twice a month, I'll find something else to start. Run a snow cone stand out in the parking lot during the summer. Run a fireworks stand twice a year. Make videos like this. Travel. I'm a photographer at heart. My parents, it's a funny story, but my sister would not sit still and let anyone but my father take her picture as a child. So rather than making her let others do it, my father learned how to take photos and how to be very good at it. My mother did as well, to the point they opened up a photo lab and studio. I would spend time with my father in the darkroom, and I love the industry, and I wish we still did it that way. But because of that, I have a love of photography, and if I could take, a year or two, travel Route 66, Civil War battlefields, national graveyards, all of these things, and just me and my camera, and my video camera, to do videos like this where I talk about, I'm at Gettysburg, or I'm at Appomattox, I'm at Lexington and Concord. This is the town that inspired Radiator Springs. Then, take another 2 years off. This is the Giant's Causeway. This is the Blarney Stone, Edinburgh Castle, the Churchill War Rooms, 221B Baker Street, the Coliseum. I would be in seventh heaven. I guarantee I'd spend a week at Thermopylae. Just because I want enough video to prove Thermopylae is a beach, not a giant hill like 300 showed. But that's not in the cards right now. In a long-winded, roundabout way, I'm trying to say there's really only one piece of advice I can give in stressful, tenuous times. It comes directly from that book. And ironically, you can see it in nature regularly if you have deer near your home. Look at what a fawn does when it's separated from its mother. It lies down, lowers its head, and lays in the grass, makes no noise. Be still, and know that I am God. We are prideful creatures. We're sinful creatures. We do not like giving up control of our lives. We just don't. I am one of the most guilty in that way. But when you just stop, breathe, calm down, realize you're not supposed to be in control. You feel a weight come off your chest. I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm never going to tell you just don't worry, just go with the flow. I'm never going to tell you that. I don't do that. I never could. I read everything I can. I watch everything I can. I'm making notes. I have just so much information that I haven't even started to compile mentally about 2016, about 2020, about so many other things. But I don't let it control me, because that's when that yoke gets put around your neck and just weighs you down. You need to have that moment where you shed that burden, you shed that yoke, and you just say, I'm not meant to control this. Because when you do, you'll be able to see other parts of your life that you can influence. Maybe it's time to rearrange that kitchen so you're a better cook. Maybe it's time to turn off that television and pick up a book. Maybe it's time to start writing. Maybe it's time to start spending more time outside. Who knows? But when you give up that stress in your life, trust me, it's not easy. I struggle with doing that all the time. But you will feel better. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears to the ground. There may come a day where the government tries to do to us what was done in Venezuela, Cuba, Western or Eastern Germany, and Nazi Germany before that, Russia, what's being done in North Korea and Communist China. If that day comes, I pray we're ready, and I pray we're strong enough. And I pray that if it comes to it, I'll be taken home before I'm put into chains. Because I can guarantee you, I would rather die on my feet than live in chains. I told someone earlier I could be very happy living in a tiny little shack in the woods, fishing for my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, collecting water to purify to drink, and just being out in nature. Could you? Could you give up that much of your life? Could you walk away leaving this on your desk? Just leaving. Those are the stressors in our lives. The things that keep us tied to all this information that's pulling us in 1,000 directions. How easily can you say no? Put it down. That's the hardest question to answer, I can tell you that. But it's one of the most important. Thank you for listening to my long-winded rambling rant. Thank you for everyone who has been praying. For those who follow me on Twitter. And until next time, make sure you like, share the video to widen the conversation, grow the channel. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. And until next time, have a wonderful night.